here for both teams.
I think it would be good.
Maybe?
Yeah, it would be good for them to secure Queen of Pain for G. It's an explosive hero. You get one gang going for him, and he can take over the game very easily. So that is also one of the heroes that G is really comfortable at as well. We talk a lot about the Lina, like Sin mentioned the last game.
He plays a lot of Bloodseeker too.
Yeah, Bloodseeker as well.
We're going to get a Naga ban from one of the teams there.
Right.
And then I think Virtus Pro will be willing to trade Gyro for
Lina?
Quap Tusk. All right.
Oh,
As I
okay.
said, they will definitely not give away Gyro.
Yes.
And now you must have misheard. Seems
Yeah,
like it.
I did.
So I think so. Now Empire needs to choose. So what do we have? We have Tusk,
Quap.
Quap, Earthshaker. I think could
The
potentially
Bounty
also
Hunter?
be
I don't
first
know if it's
considered.
first
Bounty
pick.
is still in as
Dazzle?
well. I think they'll
Lots.
go for the
But
Queen here.
you would be looking to have
Queen,
a
yeah.
combination of heroes. I think the best combination of heroes would probably be Quap plus Bounty. You want to have the two together, or you don't want to give both away to the opponent.
Bounty Undying.
Ooh, Undying is also still open.
Yep. And this time it's an Undying without a Gyro on the enemy team. So makes it a lot more of an attractive pick for VP. They're going to go just with their
Ooh.
Tusk Dazzle though.
All right. Okay.
What was their support duo last game again? The same?
Those two plus a Spirit Breaker.
Yeah.
Spirit Breaker
Oh,
was
Spirit
the
Breaker.
offlaner, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So Tusk Dazzle they had last game
Yeah.
too.
More defensive supports. And one that also can enforce.
Does Empire go for the Shaker again?
I would personally love to see them get the Undying. Just get in your face of Virtus Pro. Try to play hyper aggressive. It's what they did yesterday when they really couldn't like catch the start. Okay, they're gonna go for the Bounty Hunter and play the gank type style. But what they did yesterday against EG when things just didn't seem to work too well for them, they went full chaos mode with like Undying, a Dragon Knight, and they just forced fights and started pushing towers really early. I think it's a pretty good way of dealing with Dazzle Tusk as well, where fighting around the Tombstone. Neither of these heroes is good at destroying the Tombstone. And it's fairly easy to... So when Tuscan wants to try to counterfight, that sets up for a really good Sonic Wave under the tomb. So they could have done that. I think this is a good approach as well. Getting the Bounty Hunter, of course, as we talked about, should be a pretty contested pick for this particular matchup. And there's the Undying Bam. So
Okay, yeah.
they do acknowledge the hero's presence.
Yeah, they don't have the next pick, so they're not taking that chance. The Storm being banned out by VP. We don't want that running around.
I could foresee VP just getting Spirit Breaker again. It's pretty nice
Yes.
against Bounty Hunter.
true.
Works good against Queen of Pain. If
Yeah.
she blinks away, you maintain the vision.
And I feel the other thing is, against Quap plus Bounty Hunter, you want a mid that's very survivable. And when we are talking about mid that's really survivable against ganks, you can talk about TA, that's Wind Ranger, both are really good at surviving ganks against Bounty Hunter early on.
Ooh.
Wow, this
Ooh.
is, okay, this is a really tanky hero and a very good lane matchup for Queen of Pain.
Oh, yeah.
I
Is
think
it-
Empire are going to change their plan. This
I was
is
just
going to
gonna
be a
say,
sound
yeah.
quad.
Is it good enough of a counter where they're going to be like, okay, time to move this Quap somewhere else?
Now, the interesting thing about this is that Empire themselves banned the Razor, who could have actually gone toe-to-toe with Viper. It's a pretty even
Right.
lane. But since they got rid of that one, then all of a sudden it's going to be a little bit more tricky for them to find a mid laner who actually fares well against Viper. Now, with how
OD.
fast VP drafted, VP drafted super fast.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they actually already thought about that step. If they ban Razor now, this is exactly what we're going to do. Ban Shaker, pick Viper, no second thoughts.
VP.
This is a hard pick for Empire, because maybe they want to run the Dragon Knight, but that's really a bad lane for Dragon Knight. That's like one of the worst lanes you can have.
Yeah, and also with that speed, I think VP just trying to keep Empire on their toes, just make sure that they keep that pressure on starting from the draft. Of course, I mean, Sin, you did mention the Viper several times to be used against the Quap, so finally we are going to see that. Empire juggling through their options, definitely a couple left.
Just feels like Virtus Pro have a lineup already where it's Viper's going to build up a mech at some point, then they could just all come together, make a push happen, and
Yeah.
Empire got to be ready for that push, and that's what bounty hunters typically hate. Everyone clumping up and moving as a unit. And you're like, I want to pick one of these guys off, and I can't. So Virtus Pro have the right idea right now with their team composition, and Empire need to find a way to respond. So I'm not surprised they're sweating this one out.
I actually like AA against what Virtus Pro have. AA is quite decent against Viper, and it's a good way of contracting the Grave as well, and the healing power from Dazzle. Wow, that is really, really quick.
Yeah, I feel like VP just has the whole rest of their draft in their mind, and they have maybe like 2 options for each step, depending on what Empire reacts with. But they are making sure that Empire sweat it every turn.
Empire looks like they are gonna be in trouble. Like the PL here is really good against the Disruptor as well. Removes the track, removes the glimpse. I mean, he's going to be a problem for them. Viper is going to take care of the Queen of Pain in the lane if Queen of Pain chooses to go to mid. So, laning phase wise, I think Virtus Pro have a very good laning phase right now.
What can they do to deal with this BL now? Do they risk going back to like an Ember again?
Oh no.
And that might be like not what they want to do. Plus, then they get a pretty flimsy
Yeah,
lineup.
if they go back for the Ember, we might actually see the same thing happen again. The Tusk plus Spirit Breaker going to his lane and giving him a lot of trouble.
Split.
Okay.
This matchup is pretty interesting, the Anti-Mage versus PL. So if they both free farm, Anti-Mage overtakes PL a little bit. But if PL goes for a very farm-oriented build-up with like treads into Yasha and maybe a Vlad somewhere along the way if he wants to and just really focuses on farming, he keeps up with AM fairly well. And come mid-game, if there's the one problem AM will have is that, first of all, it's very difficult to jump on PL. He can always just doppelganger. And if the PL has a diffusal, Anti-Mage engaging onto him and then forcing the doppelganger can actually get him killed. You can purge him and he loses all his mana before Blink is off cooldown again. In addition to that, the weakness of AM here is, if you look over Virtus Pro's lineup, they actually have the potential to push towers really early on. They have Viper and Dazzle and the Sigil. And AM, he has no good target when the fight breaks out. There's no good Mana Void target, which is usually what we see. Again, I mentioned it a lot, but I feel like the team that uses Anti-Mage the best are either LGD or Team Secret. They pick it when there's a good use for Mana Void, because that's how Anti-Mage without farm can be relevant in a team fight. There's no target. Crystal Maiden still doesn't actually have that high of a mana pool when you look at it. So I feel like it's going to be really tricky here for Empire to make use of their Anti-Mage. If VP get off to a good start, this could be very one-sided when they start pushing towers. They also have no wave clear. They have Scream of Pain.
The lanes are also really hard for, like Anti-Mage, his lane support is Disruptor. I mean,
yes,
Tusk, they could potentially lane like maybe Tusk plus Dazzle, like what EG did in one of the games, Sanking plus Dazzle to pressure the opponent's carry, and that might be something Virtus Pro is thinking about. Lane-wise, I think Empire are having a tough lanes in all their cores. Their lanes are really hard.
I was kind of hoping that Crystal Maiden would have been a Coddle instead, but works good with PL, and if they needed the mana, they could have got it from him. But Crystal Maiden's been extremely popular here. I know at the start I said Naga was one that surprised me, but Crystal Maiden, she's 12-4 right now, coming into today. I don't know if she was picked up at all, but that's the
really
top
good
performance.
That's a crazy high.
Credit a lot of it to FNG. He'd been playing a ton of it. Puppy's been playing a lot on Secret.
For sure.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of work.
That's pretty impressive. Well, Sand King rounds out the lineup for Empire. Empire kind of fighting against the odds, but they need this win to stay alive for one more chance at the upper bracket. Ladies and gentlemen, Game 2 in a best-of-3 between VP and Empire.
VP, so just imagine there's a yellow blob there. It is 1-0 to the side of Virtus Pro at the moment, going into this very important tiebreaker match between VP and Empire. And, well, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out in lanes. I mean, are we seeing aggressive stuff coming out from VP, or do you think they will just keep it on the safe?
It kind of depends. I think that VP are the style of team that would try to go aggressive, but there's also the inherent risk of, okay, if it backfires, we're going to be in really bad shape, because then Aloha Dance, no one really does anything to him for the beginning of the game, and he's going to be able to get a ton of EXP. No one's going to be zoning him. Sand King probably also farms, unless they're applying enough pressure to force Yoku out of that lane. So it is risky, but I feel like the reward is also very good. Just depends. Whatever they feel is the best move.
Of course, this level 1 engagement, if the side of Empire come any closer, is not going to be ideal for them up against a team with a Tusk. I think Empire realised that going to be a little bit too risky to go for this. Silent is in the region here with Always Want to Fly. And they are eyeing up this this top rune. But I'm pretty sure VP are going to take it, and yeah, the side of Empire are going to want to contest that. They're just going to look to get that bottom rune here for resolution on the Queen in response.
That does look like they are at least sending Illidan top for the time being. And that means that it's going to be Phobos versus Sand King. Okay, so melee versus Sand King. Sand King actually does very well in these matchups. Some Sand King players actually put like 1 value point or sometimes even more into Caustic to farm the lane. Others will just skill Sandstorm just to stay safe and just do the standard build where you can maybe go back and farm a little bit of jungle stacks a bit later on. But for now, VP are looking to contest this lane. I actually favor the PL and the Crystal Maiden lane, and now actually Dazzle's coming up here too. So I think after they saw the Sand King and the Bounty Hunter, they're like, okay, that's super greedy. We actually just want to try to pressure your AM now.
Silent's going to have a bit of a tricky old time. They do have a disruptor, and I guess once he's got the glimpse and the kinetic field, may be able to do so much, but not necessarily the best defensive support in a lane.
Well, the biggest issue is, even if you had a defensive support in a situation, it doesn't matter. Like, you're still against 3 heroes. There's not one hero that's going to be able to keep you safe from this. No matter what, Silent is going to be having a really hard time finding CS against a tri-lane with a Dazzle, a CM, and a Phantom Lancer. The other thing, too, is that Always Wanna Fly can just get killed if he's out of position.
Well, that's quite some stat there coming out.
They haven't picked it since 2014.
That's a fair few months ago here, so we'll see how rusty Silent is on the old AM. I'm sure he's played it outside of competitive. I'm sure they would have had a few games coming into this one and maybe looking to use it as a pick that would catch people off guard. But so far, it doesn't look like he's having a lot of fun up against the spam that Lil was able to provide there, just with the heal bomb pushing Silent right back. And mid lane, Aloha Dance just keeping eyes on G here, has yet to make a move, or at least try to, and G harassing Resolution right behind. Resolution's got to be careful. Aloha Dance just going in with some hits, just trading right clicks here with G. And again, the double D ward there with the tangos.
And that was his last sentry too, so Aloha Dance is going to know that G does not have another sentry to his name, which means that he's going to have to get some bot for him and ferry it back out here. Otherwise, Aloha Dance is going to continue to be that pesky nuisance.
How's the bottom lane going? Well, pretty evenly by the looks of it. A couple of tangos have been taken up already by the Tusk. SK's actually out of regen here. But
well, he started with items that lead me to believe that he wasn't expecting a solo hero here. Because there's no way that you go to lane without regen if you're going in a 1v1 matchup. You buy boots if you think the enemy is going to be trying to gank you, or if you think that it's going to be like a defensive dual lane or tri-lane. So maybe in some way Empire didn't anticipate this, but it seems unlikely, because Sand King and Bounty together are two extremely greedy early game heroes that do not function in a tri-lane scenario at all. So FNG probably saw that and he was just like, yeah, alright, we're just going to go aggro, because their heroes actually can't contest the lane.
I mean, for the time being as well, it's certainly working out for VP. If you look at Illidan and Silence Farm, you know, you've got 15-9 on the PL compared to the 7-0 on Anti-Mage. If the game remains like this, it's certainly going to be a slow start for Silence AM.
Well, the nice thing about AM is, after you have your early game, it still is very difficult for VP to gank you.
Mid lane, trying to get G out here, and they might just
dead.
find it here. Blink for it from Resolution. That is going to be your first blood here. Resolution trying to get himself out. And Aloha Dance actually might lose his life here.
He could have healed and killed him. He was tanking a full creep wave. All right, I don't know what happened. I think Lil just like TP'd and maybe like missed hotkeyed or something. But that was definitely a return kill right there.
Unfortunate stuff there for the side of VP, but Empire finding first blood. Going to feel a lot happier with the beginning of this game. It's a lot better than giving away 3 kills from the off. Empire. How's the Sand King looking? Well, he's being dove up on from Phobos here. Yoku has got his bottle. Phobos still with 3 tangos in the bank. And Lil just going to look for this 4-minute rune. Who's going to have the fastest fingers? It's going to be Lil, able to grab himself that regen rune.
I'm really surprised this lane is so lopsided for Tusk. I did not think that Yoku was going to have such a hard time in this 1v1 matchup. I guess it's just because of that, right? It's because of the spam. Like, because of the CM aura, he's able to just pop that every time, and he can actually pull him out of Sandstorm or Snowball. I guess you can, like, Snowball the creep wave, and as long as you roll over where the Sandstorm is, you're going to pull him out of Invis. It's actually very useful.
Well, it's looking good so far in terms of that lane. It's just the mid lane, really, that's certainly looking up for Empire. Resolution at the moment, 18 for 7. G with the slight edge, but the fact that he did give away that kill top lane may be looking at a bit of aggression here with a slow one to Always Wanna Fly. FNG trying to move in for the Frostbite.